podcast, and I'm here with the lovely Nur Hashmi. And she is my guest today. I'm very excited to have her on this podcast. She's got a lot of wisdom to share. And so, as you guys know, I have a segment on my podcast, which is the Expansive Conversation segment. And this is where I have these powerful, transformative conversations with leaders in their field who are living out their soul-aligned purpose and carrying out New Earth consciousness in a way that suits them and that is aligned to them and the people that they're guided to work with or support or influence or in any way, shape, or form that is positive and for the highest good and highest good of all. So that's just a little bit about this. We talk a lot about, expansion and personal empowerment as well as professional empowerment. And Nur Hashmi is a professional evolution mentor and an accountability strategist. And she's generated millions of dollars in revenues for the company she's worked through, high ticket sales and coaching. She's had her share of hard times, traumatic relationships, single parenthood, anxiety, depression, debilitating fear around money or lack of it, but has found her calling, her purpose, and has never been happier. She empowers professionals to maximize productivity, overcome obstacles, and surpass their personal and business goals. Someone recently put it that she's a fairy godmother to Cinderella's wanting to transform and unleash their full potentials. Princes are optional.
Yes,
I really love that.
Yeah.
So Nur, would you like to share a little bit about what brought you to this point? Maybe something a little bit more in-depth than just what was in the profile, which was very expansive as well. Like there was a lot there. So anything you feel guided to share at this time about how you got from where you were from, say, victimhood to where you are now, and like what's really kept you on this path? Like it's easy to come off path. It's so easy, and people fall, for that. Oh, it's got to happen overnight, or I've been doing this for 3 months. Why hasn't it happened for me yet? So I think there's something to be said about resilience and inner mastery, as well as, really being guided by like what your soul purpose is and actually identifying what that is to the degree that you're like, nothing will get me off this path. Like I will stay committed. So what do you feel has been that for you that you'd like to share with everyone?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me today, Christine. It's a pleasure being here. And just kind of tapping into where we've started the conversation off on the point, the first thing, we all have a story. Our life is writing a story for us, right? Everything that's happening, and I'm a strong believer of it's happening for me and not to me. So, and that has allowed me to, all the traumas, all the things that I could be, say I'm a victim of, I've had my share, right? To separate that and take it off of like the burden that I hold with the trauma and take it, it's like, I'm not a victim of my circumstance, right? Take it, put it on the side, look at it objectively. What can I do with this trauma? How do I turn it into a treasure that not just benefits me, but benefits others as well, right? I have a story to tell. I have hope to give, right? Because, anyone who's going through the same thing I've been through, a messy divorce, and being a single parent, that was one of the toughest time of my life. I was a single parent for 5 years. And then carrying all that trauma into your, creating those limiting beliefs for yourself. I'm good for nothing, and being told that I'm ugly and I'm fat and I'm like, nobody will ever love me kind of a thing. From there to be happily married once again, to finding myself, right? Letting go of my victimhood, letting go of those voices that I had heard for so many years, right? Putting them on the side, saying, how do I now empower myself with this and empower others as well? The first thing is, how do I overcome all of this myself, for myself, right? Because I need to be strong if I'm ever going to help anyone, right? So that has been a journey. I have to say, it has been a journey. It's been like,
Up and down.
it's been up and down. I'm not going to joke about that. But unless it didn't happen till I let go. There was like, I was always been business minded. I was like, I want to do something. I'm meant for more. I don't know what. But then, I kept thinking, doing something like, maybe Amazon or maybe this, but that never resonated with me. I mean, like, yeah, that's great. I mean, brings in money. Yes. But this is not what I'm here for. Right? I'm not here for this. I mean, yeah, I love money. Who doesn't? But I'm not here for this. I have a bigger purpose. And when I took that burden off of me and put it on the side and looked at it objectively, I realized that what I've been through is basically my story and what my tool and my vehicle that's going to help others as well and help me get to others to be able to break through the same things. Self-sabotage. We self-sabotage, right? We procrastinate because we have that terrible self-image of ourselves. Negative self-talk. How many times have I looked in the mirror? I don't do that anymore. I'm awesome. I tell myself that, but I used to look at myself, oh my God, I would wake up and I would tell myself, oh my God, you're so ugly. I would say that to myself. I would wake up and that's the first thing. And imagine how your day would go from there. Right. That's the first thing you tell yourself, like, you're ugly. And from there, it's all downhill. Your energy's gone, everything's gone, and it's just turns it into a mess. So basically recognizing that I am not a victim of my circumstance. I am not. It's my story. I'm going to carry it. I'm going to, treasure it. And I'm going to take it, turn it around and help other women specifically. I mean, I do work with men as well, but specifically with women, help them understand that they're worth way more than what they're giving themselves credit for right now. And I think it's so much needed because we don't say this. We never say this to anyone that I don't feel worthy. But it's always there. Like I can tell you so many women that when I say this, we question ourselves. It's like, and the first thing is like, maybe I'm not worthy. And that's why we don't put ourselves out. That's why we never turn a passion into a business, right? We say, but who is going to pay me? Right? And I don't know if you've seen that in the industry.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
my work is in healing, and I typically see that's actually a huge issue for many light workers and other types of healers, channelers, psychics, people who are gifted, very intuitively gifted. That tends to be a very strong pattern of worthlessness, because especially for old souls that have come through many, many lifetimes where maybe those ideas have been reinforced. And then we come into this lifetime as old souls, especially, and it's so much more difficult or it feels like it's more difficult for us than it is for newer souls. And newer souls seem to be able to get away with a lot of shit. And I went through my own process recently, and I'm like, this is the lifetime where this is the fuck around and find out lifetime for Christine, because if I'm against myself, I will find out.
Yes. I mean, what we are carrying and what we are going to carry forward, we don't know, right? We don't know. What we know, what our conscious knows right now is this. So what are we going to make of this, right? Yeah. So who is telling us we are not worthy of something? Who is telling us that, we are not worth getting paid for something, or we're not worth sharing our message, we're not worth, nobody's going to listen to me. We all have a journey, right? There's of course, there's the technical stuff, the marketing and all that stuff. Sure. How do you get your message right? That's a separate thing. But if you don't get out of your own way and you don't even start building something, right? It's just going to be like going around in circles. You're gifted. Okay, a client here, a client there, but you never really put yourself out there. And I mean, I did as is, raw, based on my story. I just put myself out there and I'll say, I let this take the direction it is meant to take. I have tried everything under the sun in the last 6 years.
Wow.
I have tried everything. And it's taken this shape. I've let it take this shape.
I like the way you say that, because I think there's an element where, especially if we've come from a very maybe strict upbringing, or we've gone through lifetimes where there was a lot of limits placed on us. You can only be this way. If you were anything else but the way that we decide that you're going to be, you will be punished, you will be persecuted, you will be physically, emotionally harmed in some way. And so there's a lot of unlearning of that programming, I think, to be able to let go and just like let life and let your soul lead you in the direction you're meant to go, rather than trying to resist it at every turn. And but it shouldn't look like this because this is what my parents would think, or this is what my grandparents would think if they knew. And it's like we're just constantly putting up our own roadblocks towards where our flow is naturally going, and then we stop the flow and we wonder why we're stuck.
Yeah, exactly. And then we wonder, because we're not following the path we're meant to follow. And we think we are, okay, the path would say like, go do that. That's what my heart's saying, but that's not practical. What is practical in today's world? What is practical? I don't think there's anything practical or unpractical. People are making crazy amounts of money doing crazy stuff, right? I mean, how is dancing around on TikTok and, you know, doing weird things, getting them paid? How is that practical? Right? That's not practical, but they're, you know, doing what they want to do, and they're, you know, still, you know, financially, you know, reaching their goals or whatever they want to do. So the thing you said about coming from a place of, so I want to share this, like, you know, I come from a country in the East, right? I've grown up in a country in the East, and east of the world, and we have very traditional ways of bringing up girls, very traditional ways. And we're like, you grow up, you study, you get married, you have children, and you know, you don't marry, we find the guy for you, and you don't, kind of, you know, a culture, right? So it's very different. I grew up as, you know, labeled as the rebel. I was the person who would stand there, and when it's frowned upon, sing on the top of her lungs because she wanted to, and then got scolded because she was like, girls don't behave that way. And I was the person who would say, I don't like what you're saying at the age 10, and got scolded because, like, how dare you talk to me this way? So I was the rebel, and always told that I was the black sheep. I'll be honest, I was told I'm the black sheep of the family, the person, one person who's not going to amount to anything. You know, I don't think you're going to like ever make something out of it, because everybody else was, you know, studying on a traditional path. And I was the one that didn't want to study, would only touch her books day before exams, and, you know, that kind of a person. And I carry that with me thinking, okay, you know what, no matter what I do, I'll always be a loser. I carried that for such a long time that no matter what, I will always be a loser. And letting go of that is what made me realize, hey, wait a minute. What? I am, you know, and I'll be honest, I mean, I'm doing way better than anybody else I know in my, you know, back home. I'm doing way better. And I'm doing something entirely different, to a point that now people, that same family members, everybody brings their kids to me for inspiration and say, look at her. Look what she made of all of this. Look at her journey, which was like, you know, my journey was so hard because I grew up in that country. But now they say, look at her. She can make this out of her life. Why can't you? And now I'm an example, a good one, not a bad one. So I'm an example, right? And what
you're a leader.
I'm a leader, right? And who would have thought? The rebel, you know, the black sheep, taking what, all the trauma that she's carried, all the things that she's been through, turning it into something. And why I'm sharing this is because if anyone who is listening and is struggling with, I don't know if I will ever amount to anything, if that is something that plays in your head, you will amount to exactly what you put yourself out as. The number that you put on yourself, or the title, or whatever you want to call it. I'm losing the word, but whatever label you put on yourself, you're exactly that. So let that go, pull that one off, and put on, like, I'm a leader, I am, whatever you want to call yourself, whatever you want to change your internal labels. Let go of what they're telling you, what they've told you. And that inner voice, I definitely want to say this, and this is a usable tool, by the way, if you guys want to try this out. When you hear this nagging voice, you can't do this, you can't do this, but this, that, I physically visualize, close my eyes, and I visualize that the voice that's talking to me here, right, that's in my head, is here, and I'm just shutting it up. And I say, I'll listen to you in a minute. Give me some time. I literally do that. I visualize it. And I promise you, when you're listening to this, and if that's going on in your head, when you're done listening, go do that. I promise you, it works like a charm. It works like a charm. When you physically imagine you're shutting it up, turn it into a person, maybe turn it into a person you don't like, but you turn it into a person and, shut it up, push it to the side, either tell it, I'll listen to you in a while, or just shut up. And just saying shut up is not going to do anything when you visualize that you are actually shutting its mouth, and it does not have the power to speak anymore. So you can do whatever you want. You can tape its mouth, you can stitch its mouth, you can do whatever you want to do. It just cannot speak anymore. You take the power away, and the nagging voice disappears.
Wow.
And that is, I promise you this, it will take you way ahead of where you are right now, because you're no longer listening to that negative self-talk. It will let you put yourself out there more.
I love that. That's a really good focus strategy, because when we focus, whatever we focus on is what we create more of, right?
Yeah.
Now, sometimes with like persistent negative thoughts, sometimes there is more deeper work to be done, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you literally can just close its mouth and just say, okay, you sit over there, because you're just maybe a projection of my fear, or projection of other people's fears that I've taken on, because I want to be a good daughter, so I'm going to take on my parents' fears for me. Or, if I reject what they have said, then I'm this or whatever. So it's like, but that in itself is programming. So that also needs to be silenced. So this is like a really good exercise for people to take on and utilize to just start to move the needle forward. Because especially when you're really, really stuck, like you don't want to get into everything. You just want to get into whatever's right in front of you and move through that thing. And then the next thing comes up, move through that thing. And when the next thing comes up, move through that thing, and take it step by step. Like you don't need to figure it all out in one day. You're not going to, like, that's completely unreasonable. And so it's like, just go step by step. And as you release those things, it's like you start to hear your innate voice, or your divine voice, or your soul's voice, or your inner wisdom, or whatever you call it. And it starts to speak through you, and it's much quieter than those loud, intrusive voices of people from the past, or of your own negative, self-talk and doubts and things like that. Absolutely. And so those are like, so that's much quieter, but like you will hear it if you ask for it. You sit in meditation, if you pray, whatever it is that you need to do to connect with that in you, whatever resonates. Maybe it's spending time in nature and talking to the trees. Like, I don't know, I hug trees sometimes and I get messages from the trees. Heck, why not? They're part of the earth, and the earth is part of the natural world. And most of us are very disconnected from the natural world. So that's a great way to connect to your own natural cycles, your own natural body, your own innate wisdom, so whatever that is for whoever's listening, just go there with it, and don't be afraid, because it might give you information that's objectionable to, say, like the people in your life, but you're the leader. If you're the black sheep, you're a leader. If you're if you're the one who kind of rebels against the programming and what you should and shouldn't do, you're probably a leader. And so becoming a leader is like this just powerful stepping into, and leaders don't typically have other people that they can really follow to a letter, because otherwise they wouldn't be leaders. So you were meant to do everything the way everyone else is doing it. Like, you're not a leader then, right? So let go of, this like, oh, I can't be a leader, like you can be a leader if you know in your heart, especially if you're listening to this podcast. I believe that everybody's drawn to things for a reason. And when they sit with this and it's like, it hits them, it's like, yes, that's me. If you know it's you, then step into that and don't be afraid of what could or couldn't happen, because you don't know what's going to happen. You just have an idea of maybe some false timelines, some fears that were planted, whatever. Oh, this didn't work in the past, so it can't possibly work again. Well, things work differently when you're in a different consciousness and in a totally different energy. So you could literally do the same thing you did 10 years ago, but because you're a different person, things won't happen the same way. You won't see it the same way.
100%. I agree with you on 100%. And yes, you have to quiet, and going back to where we started this, like you have to quiet those voices. Some people like to call them gremlins, things like that. We have all kinds of names. So I call it Doubtzilla, I just like to call it that. So
I see them as like entities. They're like little snakes that whisper in your ears.
Whisper in your ears, right? So, and again, our divine, our innate is a softer voice, right? So you need silence to be able to listen to it. So whatever your method is to relax, again, as you said, connecting with nature. For me, it's the ocean for some reason. I grew up like going to the mountains a lot, and I thought I was a mountains girl and everything. And, when it turns out, when I moved to the current country that I am in, it's like all beaches and stuff and everything. So, and I realized that nothing calms me like the sound of the ocean. And I really, truly find myself when I'm sitting there silently and I'm listening to that, the lapping of water and the waves, and that just like and that's when I can hear myself on what I'm meant to do. And I actually miss doing it on days when I'm like, I tell my husband, I was like, I need to go and sit silently, do nothing, and listen to that voice, because I know something's trying to tell me and it's just too noisy in our routine lives right now, and I need to go do this. So I can feel the need, because I feel something's coming up, right? And that thing about, we were talking about getting stuck in, that hesitation, that creating that procrastination in yourself, and you thinking we need to figure everything out all at once, and you get nothing done. You get nothing done because you are stuck in a loop. And that is what led to me doing what I currently do. I run, an accountability program with people who are looking to go into business. And that's why, I say I'm a personal evolution mentor, because I mentor them to evolve into what they're truly meant to be. And of course, create an accountability strategy around how are we going to get this done? How are we going to get this done? Because how the idea came to me is like, I'm part of a group where we do these lives. It's about writing books and stuff. We do these lives every 3 to 4 months, and people come in and they're listening. It's a live event for 3-4 days, and they want to talk to coaches. So I was coaching on one of those programs, and for 2 years, I'm not kidding, for 2 years, I would go and, I would be taking part as a coach on those programs at the back end. So I would like on repeat sometimes see the same people coming back for a coaching call, coming back for a coaching call. And guess what? 6 months later, a year later, same problem. They had not moved the needle one bit. So why are you not further along? Well, I thought I would do this, and then I thought I would do this, and I'm stuck on research, and they're just like in research mode. It's been a year. I talked to you a year ago, but they're still there because they just cannot get out of their head.
That's such a huge problem. And I really resonate with this because I also had such an issue of just being in my head and actually also being disconnected from my body. So this tends to be an issue with gifted people where we're just like, we don't want to be in our human form because it's not that interesting, or it's too confronting, or we have too many fears coming up. It's like, I'm just going to escape my body. I'm just going to float in the ethers, and like nothing will happen. I'll imagine all these great things that I could do or that I would like to do. But then what happens is that we forget that we're human. We need to take action on these things, and we need to take the right actions more appropriately, because it's like we could take all the action in the world from a very unconscious, disconnected place. Well, this worked for this person, so I should do this thing, versus no, what is my soul calling me to? And what does my human actually want to engage with? Like, I need to take my human, I need to take my heart, I need to take my mind, I need to take, spirit with me on this journey. I need to take my inner child with me, because my inner child is the thing that's got the original purpose anyways. It's like the inner child knew, and it like fired us up to get going in life. Like, oh, I'm excited about this. I want to play here. I want to try this. I'm curious about that.
Absolutely.
It's just like, we want to re-engage with that magic, but we got to do it from the human. And so I think there's some deprogramming as well with regards to like how I should execute. And it sounds like your program seems to gear towards the correct strategy that various individuals need in order for them to get out of their own way and out of their own heads, so that they can actually start to take action in the world. And that seems to be the biggest problem with new business owners, I think, is that they have a hard time getting out of their heads. Or maybe like you said, it's like they go back to the same mentor again a year later and nothing's changed. And I've definitely experienced that with my own clients as well, where I'm like, I give them a reading, and like, that's when I realized like readings aren't enough, because it's not enough to engage their human to start to take action, unless they're naturally a go-getter and like they're naturally like that. But not everybody's naturally like that. So you have to address where people are at. Like, okay, you're stuck in your head. That means you haven't taken any action. Why haven't you taken action? I'm scared. I might fail. I might succeed and people will talk badly about me and target me, or whatever other fears come up. So it sounds like you kind of know how to help people from where they're at through this process of accountability, which sounds amazing, by the way.
Yeah. So again, when I was creating this, and it was like, but who's going to want to do this? For a few moments, somebody's like, something tells me it's like, people can hold themselves accountable. And when I tell people what I do, some are going to say, like, somebody just recently said to me, if somebody can't hold themselves accountable, they have no business being in business. That's harsh. Okay, that's harsh, because you know what? Everybody does not have a strong, everybody's carrying their own things, right? They're carrying something. It does not mean that they're not cut out for business, because business is not like, you do this for me, I give you money, or I take money. So to me, business is providing value.
Yes.
Right? To me, business is do what you're meant to do. Money is a byproduct.
Good word.
It is. That's exactly the way it is for me, right? So money will come, money follows, right? Yeah, it's a world is set up this way. We can't really do much without money, right? But money follows. Come from a place of service, come from a place of value, come from a place of heart. The money will follow. Money will be made regardless. So I think that's too harsh, that nobody has any business if they can't hold themselves accountable. People struggle because they have so much going on in their heads. They haven't silenced those voices yet. Or maybe they have such unique, great ideas that it's just so noisy, right? In their head, right? It could be anything. So like what I do is, first, I want to listen to what they're struggling with, right? And then pick up, okay, what are the things that are running on repeat? Where is the self-sabotage? Where is procrastination? So, understand where they're coming from. I am a certified NLP coach as well. So kind of work a little bit on the reprogramming as well, while we unpack everything on what needs to be done, what their goals are, and realign everything back. So we make sure that this time, clarity, we hear this word so much, clarity, we need clarity.
Yeah.
So you won't get clarity when there's noise in your head.
Mm.
That's the last thing you're going to get when you have noise in your head. So basically unpacking all of that and understanding, okay, this is what we need. This is what we're throwing out. It's like reorganizing a wardrobe, right? Right. And then saying, hey, what is our goal? Our goal is this, right? Setting that goal and then working step by step. So currently I only work with people one-to-one, right? Because I want to hold their hand through the process, because it is a hard journey. So we create a roadmap, right? We create a roadmap. We set micro goals. We set a macro goal. This is where we want to be in 3 months or 6 months or whatever time we are working together. And then I hold them accountable. And I don't just say, I just like kick their butt or anything and say, you didn't get this done. No, it's not like that. It's like, okay, where are we stuck? Let's look at this. So I'm a partner rather than a coach. So I know when to coach. Right? I know when I have to come from a place where it's going to be to their advantage if I tell them something, right? So I know how to coach or mentor them, but I want them to see me as a partner who's going to stand there and look at their problem and say, this is how we solve this. Okay. And give them practical things to do. And the biggest thing is, every human has every single resource they need available to them at any time. It is available to them. It's just that we don't tap into it, right? We choose not to be resourceful. So help them become resourceful and create that habit of resourcefulness and not getting out of their head instead of procrastinating. Get out of the head, get things done, move the needle bit, and get their goals met. Be it launching a business, be it even creating a business, creating a product, be it, I have to publish a book. How do I do it? I'm stuck, right? So creating something, because they know what needs to be done. Yeah. Now, some people would say, but you don't know how to publish a book, but you don't know how to do that. I can't possibly know every single thing, right? But what I know, they already know what they need to do. I help them get out of their own way, right? Create a systemized plan, right? And then hold their hand through the process while they're struggling with fear or self-sabotage or procrastination, whatever they're struggling with. Hold their hand and take them through that. And again, I would think a while back, but who would want this? It turns out when I tell people, it's like, oh my God, this is so needed, right? This is what we need. So imagine if I'd stayed in my head and said, who's going to buy it? Who's going to pay me? I don't care. I'm going to serve. People who want to pay me, come to me. So I'm just going to let them come to me. I'm not going to worry about that. But this is what I do. Wow. This is what I'm meant to do. Solve problems.
That's so beautiful. And there's so many problems that we have to moving towards our goals or moving towards something that our soul is calling us towards. And then we get into our heads and we settle. I noticed that's a big thing, actually, that's been coming up some with my private clients too, where that's a theme where people are saying I can have this, but the thing that my soul is really asking me for is really pushing me towards, which might be way bigger than my mind could possibly fathom at this time, because I don't have enough evidence, because I haven't gone there yet. It's well, I'll just settle for this. And I'll just settle for this. And then it creates this sort of disempowerment where it's and I've seen this, through weaving through past lifetimes too. It's crazy how those things can impact if you haven't addressed them, or they haven't been, released properly, or whatever the story is. But even childhood too, you have a childhood thing where it's well, you can have this toy, but you can't have that toy, even though that's the toy you would really want. So you just take what you can get, and you develop this mentality of just take what you can get. And it's like, why though? Say no to the thing that is not right and trust the divine to bring the thing that you really want. Like, this is not about asking your parents to buy you the more expensive toy. This is you planting the seeds. This is my desire. This is my soul desire. This is my true desire. And I'm not going to settle for any less, but I'm also not putting that burden on any one person, because God can come through any person and deliver it to me. Like, I don't know, like, there could be 200 people I know, and one person just happens to be the right person that it's supposed to move through. Or maybe it comes in a more miraculous way. Like, we don't know how things are going to necessarily be delivered to us. So, whatever your passion and your purpose is, like, you don't know who's going to come into your experience to support you in this thing or that thing that you need, because the divine knows you need it. The divine isn't ignorant to the fact that you need this thing or this thing in order to make this thing happen. But don't get fixated on this thing or this thing. Get focused on the goal and don't settle for anything less.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And 100% wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying. And again, going back to the original of my story, imagine being handed a guy that you're supposed to marry, right? And no, it's not a toy, right? It's not a toy. It's a life, right? And being married to somebody that you have to now compromise. And that's a big word in the culture that I come from. Compromise. It's okay. Everybody has their share of troubles. You compromise. You learn how to find a way, right? And then you lose yourself in the process of trying to find a way, trying to compromise. And that has been a huge part of my motivation. And that's something I want to do later, as things grow for me, when I do find myself in a place of empowerment where I can empower the women of my country. Because right now, if I go and tell them, like, you don't need to be in these weird marriages, I'm going to be labeled like different kind of, infidel. But, you do not need to suffer. You need to break out of that. Just because you feel you're not empowered, you need to break out of it. You do not need to settle. Be it a marriage, be it, a job, be it how you're running your business, be it anything, a relationship, or whatever. This applies, it's a universal thing. Anything. You do not have to settle. You have it in you, and you are worthy of having the best that's meant for you. You're worthy. There is no reason, right? And I've been extremely, extremely lucky that I have a husband who, like, my daughter says, is like, the only thing, missing in him, he doesn't worship the ground you walk on. I was like, okay, she's 18. I don't blame her. But, that's the only thing missing in my husband, according to her. Like, he doesn't worship the ground you walk on. The rest is like, he's the perfect guy. So, and I know he's empowered me to be here today. He's empowered me to a point. It was like, you can do this. So he's been the positive self-talk that I needed when I needed it. And that's so amazing. And he did what I am doing currently for my clients, is like, being that voice that can, being their cheerleader. I have her in my corner. And, the kind of relationship you create, they don't care they've paid you to do it. They don't. They still appreciate that you're doing it for them. You could just give them a few things to do, and you could just, like, finish up your call and you're done, right? But they appreciate that you're putting your energy into this, because it takes energy, right?
Of course.
It does. Yeah. So I want to be that voice and that person they see in their corner and saying, okay, no matter what, this person is not going to tell me I'm a loser. This person is not going to tell me, oh my God, what did you do? Or, whatever you did is beyond repair or whatever. Nothing in this world is beyond repair. That's what I believe in. Everything can be undone and redone. So, okay, how do we do this differently? So having, being that kind of support for people, and that's, I know it's missing. Everybody's so competitive now, right? We're just competing and like, comparing themselves to others. So how do you become that person that's actually, somebody, and I like to call it that way, like, be somebody's wind beneath their wings.
Oh,
right?
that's
Carry them
beautiful.
forward. Yeah.
What you're saying is really like this competition, this comparisons, that all of that stuff is very much old earth consciousness, especially as it pertains to business. So old earth business is like, there can be only one top dog and survival of the fittest and all of these types of things. And make sure you know what your competition is doing so that you can fill in the gaps that they're missing. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like a lot of it comes from a very low human, like kind of survivalist place, not a thriving, I'm an ascending human. I'm ascending into the greatest form, the greatest version of myself that is actually my soul embodied into a human form. And so New Earth business, I tend to find, is more about co-creation with others and collaboration. And genuineness, like real genuineness, like really being in your heart with others and knowing that no one can take anything from you because it's all the divine's anyway. So if like we're in the New Earth consciousness, it all belongs to the divine. So it doesn't really matter. Just do what you're guided to do and don't worry about all the details. Like they'll work themselves out largely, especially if you stop focusing on those things and you focus on, like you said, the solution and okay, what can I do here? How can I shift this? How can I shift the way I'm thinking about this so that I can use this to empower me to move forward, as opposed to a way that, oh, this is how I'm being attacked, or this is how I'm being undermined, or this is how I'm being disrespected. Stand up, have your boundaries, articulate, don't be afraid to say no, don't be afraid to like, nope, this isn't okay with me, but don't come from like a defensive place, because then you've not really healed that. You've got to kind of move through that, in your own way. But like ultimately New Earth business is like this very empowered version of ourselves. And it's a process. Like we don't get it perfect. It's like we learn. And the whole point is that we're learning, because we don't actually have, like, I read this last night. It was like something about knowledge puts limits on us, but the soul actually came here to learn, which is a far more powerful process than just having knowledge, because knowledge can create dead ends. So if you go into the process of like, I don't know everything, and instead I'm just going to be willing to be a student to life, and I'm going to learn.
I'm going to learn from every single experience that I have. If I'm in business, right? If something doesn't go right? Okay, what can I take? I mean, I don't believe in failure. There's no such thing as failure. It's just, feedback. So you take that and you change how you're doing things, right? And you change and change and change till it evolves into something you want it to evolve into. And it's getting you the results. It's getting you people, you're affecting the results that you want. And, coming back to the thing you said, I mean, everything belongs to the divine, right? It's not our problem to figure out how it's going to happen. Our job is to do what we're meant to do. So the hows is, whatever you believe in as the higher power, whatever your belief is, whoever's listening, right? It's the universal conscious, whatever you want to call
Source,
it.
Whatever.
Source, whatever you want to call it. It's not your job to figure out the how. So, and I tell you this, the day you let go of the how, it's going to happen, because you know what, when we think of an idea, but then how is it going to happen? That's the first thing, we're programmed to figure out the how ourselves. And that's why we see ourselves going around in circles and never figure it out, because it's not even our job. It's above our pay grade, right? So it is a way above our pay grade. We're not, as humans, we're not even programmed to figure out the how. So do what you're meant to do what your purpose is telling you to do, follow that, and leave the how to the one who's, paid to do it, or whatever, whosever job it is. It's not our job. So leave it to that to make the how happen, and you will see it unfold in front of you and be like, you'll sit there and say, how did that happen? You know, you'd be like amazed by how things just start falling into place, and you'll be like, oh, okay. You just have to let go of the how. It's not your job. Another thing I want to invite you to feel and think about, and I say this to my clients all the time when they say, but who's going to want to listen to me? Who's going to want to work with me? And I said, listen, at this any given moment, I don't know the exact number. We're somewhere around, 7-something billion people in the world. And if you think not one person is going to work with you, you are you're putting yourself on a really low scale, right? You're like really undermining yourself. You think one person in this entire world would want to work with you. So what are we talking about? What are the odds that out of billions of people, nobody's going to resonate with what we have to say? Nobody's going to resonate. Nobody. When I say nobody, like nobody. It's impossible. Look at the odds. It's impossible that there isn't somebody who's going through exactly the same things you are going through or I'm going through.
Yeah.
Or have gone through. They will resonate.
There's
right?
Something called the 100th monkey effect. And it's like, it's like something that's been practiced in one area of the world suddenly comes up in another area of the world as a common idea or thing that even an ability or something like that. And it's like these two groups had no like direct contact, right? And so the idea, I think, behind that is there's a universal consciousness that connects us all together. So if you have a desire to serve in a specific way, the reason that you have that desire and that is placed in your heart is because there are those out there who resonate with it, because otherwise you wouldn't have that desire. It wouldn't exist. What would be the purpose of that?
Yeah, and they need it. And they need it.
And they need it.
Yes. And everyone who's like, listening and just kind of on the fence about starting a business that is like, your purpose-based, whatever your purpose is, whatever you want to do, there is somebody who needs your help right now or yesterday, right? Who need your help, right? And just because you're sitting there in your head and thinking nobody wants to work with me, you are doing them a disservice. You are currently right now doing somebody a disservice by keeping what you have inside you. Look at that. And that alone is going to help you break through this procrastination and self-sabotage, because when you come out of your like me phase, right? But I don't know this, I don't know that. And you think about the person who needs your help, you will figure it out. You will make it happen. Okay. I don't believe in perfect action anyway. You will take imperfect action, but you will take action, right? And you will figure it out because there is somebody who needs your help right now. How many people, I've never witnessed somebody drowning, but I know that when somebody is drowning and they shout, people who don't even know how to swim go. Yep. They go and help. They jump in and, okay, we'll figure out how to save this person. That's the thing. So how, at a person who needs you right now, will you not get out of your own way and create something that is going to serve them? So come from a place that you will find yourself, becoming more and more action driven and service driven as well.
This has been so good. I love, there's been so many good points throughout this whole conversation, and it felt very flowy, and I'm really glad that we were able to have this conversation. And I just wanted to give you an opportunity as we come to a close to share any last points of guidance, anything you want to share. And if not, then just where people can find you and learn more from you and get more of your beautiful insights.
Yeah, well, you can find me on social media. I am on Facebook. My name's Nur Hashmi on Facebook. And there is a picture of Twin Towers behind me. If you want to go look up, I don't know, might have changed by the time you're listening to this, but so you can look me up. I am, a personal evolution mentor and accountability strategist. So I don't think you'll find a lot of Nur Hashmis around here. So you could find that. My Instagram is Unleashed Powerhouse. and you can find me there as well. Feel free to send me a message, book a call with me. I'll be happy to talk to you. And the only thing I definitely want to say to you, whoever is listening, you are worthy.
Oh, take that code in, guys. Like, really take that into your heart. Imagine that the way I see it, because I see it through, like, very visually. It looks like a crystal, and it's like a quartzite crystal, clear quartzite. It's got light beaming out of it. I see it dropping into everyone's crown chakras and moving through their entire body and filling them with this light of, like, divine knowing. This is who you really are. This is what you're here for, and you are worthy to step into it and to serve in this way that is going to be the most empowering for you and for everyone around you, whose souls you're meant to touch in this lifetime. And you have agreements with these souls, and so this is part of your purpose, to fulfill those agreements. And they're divine agreements. They're to support each other. We're not here alone. We're here together. So thank you so much, Nur Hashmi. I loved everything that you shared, and I loved how open and transparent and authentic you were in your sharing. And everyone who wants to follow Nur Hashmi, please check in the show notes. All of the links are going to be down there along with her bio. And please follow her. Get on a call with her. She's very personable, very easy to talk to, very sweet. And I think that if you're resonating with her right now, your soul may be calling you to work with her in some capacity and maybe collaborate and co-create together. Who knows? Like, let's just leave that up to the divine, and just follow your inner knowing. Whatever is coming in front of you right now, do that thing now, and don't worry about the rest of it.
And how is not our job?
Exactly. So I will wrap this up. Thank you, everybody. Please share this with a friend if you feel like you know somebody who would really benefit from hearing these messages today. And yeah, just let me know your feedback. Definitely send your feedback, and we will talk to you again in another episode soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.